Long before the rise of civilizations we know today, there existed a world that remains hidden in fragments of clay tablets and cuneiform inscriptions. The Sumerians, one of the earliest known civilizations, meticulously recorded their knowledge, myths, and accounts of human history. Within these ancient texts lie strange hints, stories of rulers, great floods, and cycles of destruction and rebirth. Could it be that humanity has lived through ages far older than we imagine? These records suggest that our current civilization might only be the latest in a long series, built upon the remnants of forgotten worlds. Echoing the whispers of those who came before us, the ancient civilization of Sumer, located in the Fertile Crescent of Mesopotamia, is widely recognized as one of the earliest known civilizations in human history. Around 4500 BCE, in the region that is now modern-day Iraq, the Sumerians established complex urban centers, including cities such as Uruk, Eridu, and Lagash. These were not mere settlements. They were highly organized societies with social hierarchies, legal systems, and advanced infrastructure that included canals, irrigation networks, and monumental architecture. While the Sumerians are often credited with inventing cuneiform writing, their records reveal much more than administrative details. They hint at a deep, mysterious history of human civilization, far older than what is generally acknowledged today. Among the most fascinating artifacts recovered from Sumerian sites are the cuneiform tablets, which contain everything from economic transactions and legal decrees to detailed astronomical observations, mythological texts, and historical records. One of the most extraordinary examples is the Sumerian king list, a chronicle of rulers whose reigns stretch back tens of thousands of years. According to these records, some kings ruled for periods far exceeding a human lifetime, some even tens of thousands of years. Mainstream historians often interpret these long reigns symbolically, suggesting they represent dynastic periods or exaggerations. However, alternative researchers propose that these records may preserve genuine historical memory of ancient civilizations predating Sumer. The king lists are more than just records of political succession. They are windows into a forgotten worldview. They describe a time when humanity may have experienced multiple cycles of civilization, periods of incredible growth and technological achievement, followed by collapse and near-total disappearance. The Sumerians themselves may have been survivors of one of these cycles, inheriting fragments of knowledge, culture, and technology from prior societies. This perspective challenges the conventional timeline of human history and raises the possibility that our current civilization is not the first, but one of many that have risen and fallen across millennia. The Sumerians also recorded encounters with beings known as the Anunnaki, described in myths and texts as deities who descended from the heavens to impart knowledge to humanity. These beings are said to have taught humans critical skills such as agriculture, governance, architecture, metallurgy, and mathematics. Some modern theorists suggest that these stories might reflect interactions between humans and remnants of an older, highly advanced civilization, whose knowledge survived through Sumerian records. Whether these accounts are literal, metaphorical, or allegorical, they provide a striking hint that the history of human civilization may extend far beyond the conventional 6,000-year framework. In addition to historical records, the Sumerians made remarkable contributions to astronomy and mathematics. Clay tablets show that they tracked lunar and solar cycles, predicted eclipses, and calculated planetary movements with extraordinary precision. They used a sexagesimal number system, which forms the basis of modern time measurement and geometric calculations. These achievements indicate not only intellectual sophistication, but also a possible inheritance of knowledge from previous civilizations. Could it be that the mathematical, astronomical, and engineering skills documented by the Sumerians were built upon a foundation laid by earlier societies, long since forgotten or erased by time? Flood myths recorded in Sumerian texts add another layer of intrigue. Stories of catastrophic deluges are not unique to Sumer. They appear in nearly every ancient culture, from Noah's flood in the Hebrew Bible to flood legends in India, Greece, and the Americas. The consistent pattern of these narratives across distant cultures suggests that they may be based on real events, perhaps cataclysms that repeatedly reshaped human civilization. Geological evidence, including traces of massive flooding in the Mesopotamian region, may support the notion that ancient societies faced repeated natural disasters that led to the collapse of cities and the loss of knowledge. The Sumerian records could be remnants of collective memory, preserving details of civilizations long erased from the historical record. Even more intriguing are depictions on Sumerian cylinder seals and artifacts, which sometimes show structures, machines, and technologies that seem anachronistic for their time. While mainstream interpretations view these images symbolically, some researchers argue they may be representations of real technology inherited from earlier civilizations. These include advanced architectural concepts, possibly mechanisms for irrigation and construction, and tools that seem far ahead of what is conventionally believed possible for the era. If these interpretations are accurate, they point to a forgotten sophistication in human history, a level of knowledge that was subsequently lost and had to be reinvented by later societies. The Sumerians' meticulous documentation reflects not only a concern for governance and trade, but also a profound desire to preserve knowledge. In their writings, myth, history, and science are intertwined, suggesting that they understood the fragility of human memory and civilization. They may have believed that recording knowledge was essential to ensure that future generations could learn from the past, even after societal collapse. The records imply an awareness that humanity exists within cycles, epochs of rise, decay, and rebirth, where civilizations inherit fragments from the past and are compelled to rebuild on the ruins left behind. Finally, the Sumerian texts challenge our perception of time and history. They hint at a reality in which the human story is not linear but cyclical, where knowledge is lost, rediscovered, and passed down in fragments over millennia. If these records are accurate in some sense, they suggest that the Sumerians themselves were inheritors of a much older history, one in which human civilization had already endured countless generations of growth, collapse, and renewal. The mysteries contained within these ancient records provoke fundamental questions about our origins, the continuity of knowledge, and the possibility that we are living atop layers of forgotten civilizations. The Sumerian records continue to astonish scholars not only with their chronological detail, but also with the sophistication of the knowledge they preserve. Beyond documenting kings and rulers, the Sumerians carefully recorded the practical and spiritual aspects of their world. Agricultural techniques, water management, and trade logistics were meticulously documented, demonstrating an advanced understanding of both natural systems and societal organization. Such records imply that Sumerians were not inventing knowledge in isolation. They were building upon foundations laid by civilizations that existed long before them. One of the most compelling aspects of Sumerian records is the emphasis on cycles of kings, cities, and human experience. The king lists, for instance, are not mere historical logs. They present a worldview in which history itself is a series of repeating epochs. Cities rise to prominence, achieve technological and cultural heights, and then fall, leaving ruins and fragments of knowledge for future generations. This cyclical understanding is mirrored in mythological accounts of great floods, divine interventions, and the guidance of semi-divine beings, all of which suggest that humanity has experienced multiple resets across millennia. These cycles become even more intriguing when considering the notion of lost knowledge. The Sumerians frequently referenced wisdom from before the flood, preserved by select individuals or groups. This pre-flood knowledge included advanced understanding of astronomy, medicine, metallurgy, and architecture, skills that would later seem rediscovered or reinvented by subsequent civilizations. The idea that entire bodies of knowledge could vanish and later reappear implies that human civilization may have a hidden depth, one in which our ancestors navigated challenges, collapsed, and yet managed to transmit fragments of wisdom to the next era. The figure of the Anunnaki, as recorded in Sumerian mythology, further complicates our understanding of these ancient texts. These beings are described as teachers and rulers who shaped human civilization, often with specific guidance on societal organization and technological development. while some modern interpretations suggest these figures are mythological representations of human leaders. Others theorize they may symbolize or even represent a lost civilization with knowledge far surpassing what we would expect from prehistoric societies. Their stories often depict humans receiving tools, techniques, and organizational systems that were already highly advanced, reinforcing the idea that Sumerians were inheritors of ancient knowledge rather than its originators. Astronomy, in particular, demonstrates the level of inherited sophistication. Sumerian astronomers recorded celestial events with extraordinary precision, mapping lunar and solar cycles, eclipses, and planetary movements over long periods. The use of the sexagesimal system, dividing circles into 360 degrees and hours into 60 minutes, reveals a deep mathematical understanding, one that forms the basis of modern geometry and timekeeping. How did a civilization emerging in the early Bronze Age develop such advanced tools? Some researchers argue that these were inherited insights from earlier societies, preserved in ritual, myth, and observation, waiting to be decoded by future generations. Sumerian myths about floods, collapses, and divine guidance are echoed worldwide. The parallels with the biblical Noah, the Indian Manu, and various South American flood myths suggest a collective memory of cataclysmic events. These floods could correspond to natural disasters that wiped out early civilizations, forcing survivors to rebuild and pass down fragments of knowledge. The recurrence of these myths across cultures indicates that ancient humans were deeply aware of cyclical destruction and renewal, which may explain why the Sumerians emphasized cycles in both their history and myth. Artifacts such as cylinder seals, engraved tablets, and temple carvings provide further hints of advanced understanding. Some of these depict architectural designs, mechanical devices, or other technologies that seem out of place for their supposed historical period. While mainstream scholarship often interprets these images symbolically, some theorists suggest they could be literal representations of inherited technology. Lost in the upheavals of previous civilizations, these remnants raise profound questions about the depth and continuity of human knowledge, suggesting that what we see today as innovation may, in some cases, be rediscovery. The preservation of knowledge by the Sumerians was not merely utilitarian, it had a spiritual dimension as well. Many texts combine practical instructions with ethical and ritual guidance, indicating an understanding that knowledge without wisdom could lead to societal collapse. By encoding information in myths, stories, and religious practices, the Sumerians may have been safeguarding essential knowledge against the uncertainties of time, natural disasters, and human conflict. This fusion of the spiritual and the technical reveals a sophisticated culture aware of the fragility and resilience of civilization. Importantly, the Sumerian emphasis on historical continuity challenges our assumptions about the age and trajectory of human civilization. If the king lists and mythological accounts are taken seriously, they suggest that human history is not confined to the 6,000 years often cited in mainstream scholarship. Instead, civilization may stretch far deeper, shaped by countless rises and falls, each leaving behind fragments that inform the next. The Sumerians, in their meticulous documentation, may have been acutely aware of their place in this long chain, recording both what they inherited and the lessons necessary to preserve knowledge for future generations. This perspective reframes our understanding of the ancient world. No longer can we view Sumer as simply the first civilization. It may instead have been one of the latest inheritors of a far older legacy. The very act of recording, mythologizing, and teaching suggests a consciousness of temporal depth, a recognition that the cycles of human achievement and failure are far more ancient and intricate than we often realize. In this light, Sumerian records are not merely historical curiosities. They are keys to unlocking a forgotten history, a layered chronology in which humanity's story is far richer, more complex, and more mysterious than conventional timelines suggest. Beyond the historical and mythological accounts, Sumerian records suggest a profound awareness of cycles not only in human affairs, but in the natural world. Their myths often describe periods of prosperity, destruction, and rebirth, implying that civilizations must endure natural disasters, social upheaval, and external forces beyond human control. This understanding reflects a sophisticated worldview. Humanity is not a linear progression but a series of experiments, some thriving, some collapsing, with lessons and fragments of knowledge transmitted through survivors. One of the most remarkable aspects of Sumerian civilization is their ability to preserve and transmit knowledge across generations, even in the face of catastrophe. The combination of practical instruction, astronomical observation, and mythological narrative served as a kind of mnemonic system, ensuring that critical insights about agriculture, engineering, mathematics, and governance were not lost entirely when cities fell. These methods suggest that the Sumerians were not only record keepers, but also conservators of an even older wisdom, possibly inherited from civilizations that existed before them and were wiped out by cataclysms or unknown forces. The recurring motif of floods in Sumerian texts may also represent symbolic or historical memory of societal resets. Every flood, whether literal or allegorical, signifies the end of one civilization and the emergence of another. The survivors, whether individuals, families, or elites, carried knowledge forward, encoded it in myths, and rebuilt society. This pattern hints at a profound cyclical understanding of history. Human achievement is not permanent, but wisdom can endure, pass through layers of collapse and reconstruction. In this way, the Sumerians were conscious inheritors, connecting the past with the present and potentially preserving the knowledge of civilizations that came before them. The technological and architectural sophistication depicted in Sumerian artifacts further reinforces this notion. Cylinder seals, engraved tablets, and bas-reliefs sometimes illustrate advanced structures, tools, and even conceptualized machinery. While mainstream scholarship often interprets these as symbolic or mythical representations, alternative theories suggest that they could indicate practical technologies lost in time, preserved only in visual form for future generations to decode. If this interpretation holds, it would mean that the Sumerians were preserving knowledge from a previous era, a civilization whose advancements we may never fully comprehend due to the incompleteness of the historical record. The Anunnaki myth, while often debated, may also encode critical insights about the transmission of knowledge. These beings are described as guiding humanity, establishing societal structures, and imparting skills essential for survival and advancement. Some theorists posit that the Anunnaki could represent remnants of an earlier civilization or highly skilled individuals who survived cataclysms, passing their expertise to humanity. Whether interpreted literally or symbolically, these narratives reinforce the idea that Sumerians were engaged in bridging the past and the present, preserving knowledge and culture through storytelling, ritual, and writing. Sumerian records also display an extraordinary understanding of astronomy and mathematics. The precision with which they recorded celestial events and calculated planetary movements is remarkable even by today's standards. The sexagesimal system, still used in modern timekeeping and geometry, reflects advanced abstract thinking. How such sophisticated knowledge emerged in the early Bronze Age remains a profound mystery. Some researchers argue that these insights were inherited rather than invented, implying that humanity may have experienced multiple cycles of civilization long before Sumer, each leaving traces of its intellectual achievements. Furthermore, the Sumerians' focus on cycles, continuity, and inheritance suggests a philosophical dimension to their worldview. They understood that civilizations rise and fall, and that knowledge can survive even when political and social structures collapse. This perspective challenges modern assumptions of historical linearity, proposing instead that human history is a series of overlapping epochs, some remembered, some forgotten, each shaping the next in ways we may only partially comprehend. The Sumerians themselves may have been conscious participants in this continuum, recording both what they inherited and what they hoped future generations could carry forward. The preservation of knowledge through myth, ritual, and writing also reflects a sophisticated understanding of human memory and societal stability. by embedding technical, agricultural, and astronomical information within stories of gods, floods, and divine instruction. The Sumerians ensured that essential knowledge would be remembered even when circumstances threatened its survival. These strategies highlight the resilience of human intelligence and creativity, illustrating that even when civilizations collapse, ideas can endure and inspire future societies. Finally, the Sumerian records compel us to reconsider the depth of human history. They suggest that the history of civilization may stretch far beyond the timeline commonly accepted today, shaped by cycles of rise, fall, and rebirth. Our current society might not be the first to achieve technological sophistication. Rather, it may be one in a long series of civilizations building upon the remnants of forgotten worlds. The meticulous records left by the Sumerians offer not only a glimpse into their achievements, but also a doorway into a hidden past, a layered chronology of human endeavor, resilience, and the persistence of knowledge across the millennia. In conclusion, the mystery of the Sumerian records lies not merely in their content, but in the profound questions they raise. Who were the rulers who reigned for thousands of years? What civilizations preceded Sumer, leaving traces of advanced knowledge? How much human history has been lost to floods, wars, or the simple passage of time? The answers remain elusive, but the clues are undeniable. Sumerian civilization, with its myths, king lists, and meticulous records, challenges us to see history not as a straight line, but as a series of cycles, each rise and fall leaving behind the echoes of knowledge, waiting to be rediscovered by generations yet to come. In this hidden history, Sumer may represent not the beginning, but a bridge, a testament to human resilience and the enduring quest to understand our place in the vast timeline of civilization.
Long before recorded history places the rise of human civilization in Mesopotamia, Egypt, or the Indus Valley, there are tantalizing hints that humanity had already experienced multiple cycles of societal development. The Sumerians, often credited with establishing the first cities and writing systems, may have been inheritors of a far older legacy. According to ancient records, our current civilization could in fact be the seventh iteration, a society built upon the literal and metaphorical clay of 6 previous civilizations, each leaving behind fragments of knowledge, technology, and culture that shaped the future. Archaeological discoveries around the world suggest that advanced human activity existed far earlier than traditionally accepted. Sites with megalithic structures, complex irrigation systems, and evidence of early metallurgy predate Sumer by thousands of years. While mainstream scholarship often dismisses these as isolated or primitive developments, some researchers argue they point to civilizations that achieved sophistication comparable to later societies. The notion that successive civilizations collapsed due to climate change, natural disasters, or internal upheaval provides a framework for understanding why much of this earlier knowledge was lost, only to be partially preserved by later cultures. The concept of the seventh civilization is drawn from comparative analysis of myths, king lists, and archaeological anomalies. The Sumerian king list, for example, chronicles rulers stretching back tens of thousands of years, many of whom reigned for extraordinarily long periods. While the exact interpretation of these reigns is debated, some suggest that they may represent entire civilizations or dynastic cycles rather than individual rulers. The longevity of these reigns, coupled with references to floods, cataclysms, and divine interventions, hints at a broader pattern. Civilizations rise, thrive, and fall, leaving behind remnants that future societies inherit and build upon. Globally, there are repeated references to lost civilizations. In South America, the legends of Tiahuanaco and Viracocha describe advanced builders whose knowledge was largely erased by catastrophe. In the Indian subcontinent, texts like the Mahabharata and the Rig Veda recount epochs of civilization that seem impossibly ancient. The Egyptian pyramid texts, the flood narratives of Mesopotamia, and the myths of Atlantis further reinforce the idea that human history has experienced cycles of rise and collapse. When viewed collectively, these disparate sources suggest that our current society may indeed be the latest in a line of at least 7 civilizations, each layer constructed on the debris, knowledge, and mythology of its predecessors. The notion of building upon clay is both literal and symbolic. Sumerian cities were literally constructed from mud bricks, laid upon the ruins of earlier settlements. Beneath the foundations of Uruk, Ur, and Eridu lie remnants of prior occupations, some showing evidence of sophisticated urban planning and craftsmanship. Archaeologists have noted that the depth of stratified ruins in Mesopotamian cities indicates repeated cycles of construction and reconstruction, suggesting long periods of human settlement interrupted by catastrophic events. Symbolically, the clay represents the human capacity to rebuild, to take what remains and create something new, a process repeated countless times across millennia. One of the most compelling pieces of evidence for a seventh civilization comes from the continuity of technological knowledge. Despite societal collapses, certain skills, agriculture, metallurgy, writing, astronomy, appear repeatedly across different eras and regions. This pattern implies not invention in isolation, but inheritance. Technologies lost during one collapse seem to re-emerge in the next, often with minor variations, suggesting that humanity's knowledge has been preserved in fragments, ready to be rediscovered. Even today, Sumerian mathematics, engineering, and astronomy appear to build upon knowledge that likely originated before the rise of their civilization, pointing to a continuous layered history. The consistent stories of cataclysmic deluges, from Sumerian texts to the biblical account of Noah, often describe a world reset by water, a civilization destroyed, and a select group of survivors preserving knowledge. If we interpret these accounts as historical memory, it becomes plausible that humanity has repeatedly faced existential threats that wiped out entire civilizations, leaving only fragments for subsequent societies. Each reset allowed humans to rebuild, often incorporating the surviving remnants of knowledge from prior epochs. Our current civilization may thus represent the seventh attempt, drawing upon these accumulated fragments. The Sumerians themselves were acutely aware of this cyclical nature. Their myths and records frequently reference prior ages, rulers, and cataclysmic events. They appear to have recognized that their society was built upon what came before, and that history was cyclical, not linear. The idea of inherited knowledge, mathematics, writing, architecture, governance, implies a consciousness of deep time. By documenting their achievements and the lessons of the past, the Sumerians ensured that future generations could continue the chain of civilization, preserving what survived through destruction and chaos. The evidence also includes physical artifacts that seem incongruous with the timeline suggested by mainstream history. Some tools, architectural designs, and artistic depictions indicate technical skill far beyond what would be expected for their supposed era. These anomalies suggest that advanced knowledge may have persisted through multiple cycles, lost and partially recovered, allowing successive civilizations to benefit from the wisdom of their predecessors. This aligns with the concept of a seventh civilization, a society that inherits, reconstructs, and evolves based on the remnants of 6 prior human civilizations, each contributing to the cumulative depth of human achievement. Beyond the physical evidence of ruins and artifacts, the concept of a seventh civilization is further supported by the continuity of cultural memory across millennia. Ancient texts and myths frequently reference periods of advanced human activity that predate established historical timelines. In Sumerian accounts, for example, there are references to pre-flood cities and kings who ruled for thousands of years, hinting at sophisticated societies that existed long before the Sumerians themselves. These recurring motifs suggest that humanity has repeatedly experienced cycles of civilization, epochs of growth, achievement, and eventual collapse, each leaving traces for future generations. Archaeological discoveries across different continents provide additional clues. Megalithic structures in South America, such as those in Tiahuanaco and Ollantaytambo, exhibit precise stone-cutting techniques and astronomical alignments that rival ancient Mesopotamian and Egyptian constructions. Similar evidence exists in the Indus Valley, where cities like Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa reveal advanced urban planning, drainage systems, and standardized weights and measures. Even in Europe, sites such as Göbekli Tepe, dating back over 11,000 years, suggest complex social organization and monumental architecture far earlier than conventional history allows. Taken together, These discoveries hint at previous civilizations whose knowledge was partially preserved, influencing the societies that followed. Material evidence, such as layered city foundations, also supports the idea of repeated civilization cycles. In Mesopotamia, many Sumerian cities were built upon layers of earlier settlements. Excavations at Uruk and Ur reveal multiple strata, indicating continuous habitation, destruction, and reconstruction over millennia. Some layers contain sophisticated pottery, tools, and architectural remnants that suggest high levels of craftsmanship and technical knowledge. These findings imply that human societies achieved considerable advancement long before the conventional historical timeline begins, leaving behind physical traces that informed subsequent civilizations. The concept of inheritance extends to technological knowledge. Agricultural practices, metalworking, and architectural techniques appear repeatedly across different eras, often with variations that suggest adaptation rather than independent invention. For example, Sumerian irrigation systems reflect knowledge that could not have developed entirely in isolation, given the scale and precision required. Similarly, early metallurgy and the crafting of durable tools indicate expertise passed down or rediscovered from previous generations. Such continuity of knowledge aligns with the theory that our civilization is the seventh, building upon the accumulated wisdom of 6 prior societies. Flood narratives play a pivotal role in understanding these cycles. Across cultures, stories of catastrophic deluge suggest a shared memory of events that reshaped human civilization. The Sumerian flood myth, the biblical account of Noah, Indian texts about Manu, and South American flood legends all describe civilizations wiped out by water, with survivors preserving fragments of knowledge. These recurring tales support the notion that human societies repeatedly faced cataclysmic resets, each cycle giving rise to new civilizations that inherited remnants of their predecessors' achievements. The seventh civilization, therefore, is not an isolated occurrence, but part of a long continuum shaped by catastrophe and renewal. Cultural motifs and religious symbolism also reflect the layering of civilizations. Deities, myths, and rituals often carry echoes of earlier societies. The Anunnaki, for example, are depicted as teachers and guides, bestowing knowledge that seems pre-existing rather than invented. Similarly, recurring symbols in architecture, iconography, and myth suggest that cultural memory survived the collapse of earlier civilizations, transmitted through stories, oral traditions, and material culture. These patterns indicate that each successive society was both a product of its own innovations and a custodian of knowledge inherited from previous generations. The continuity of knowledge is evident not only in practical skills, but also in scientific observation. Sumerian astronomers recorded lunar cycles, planetary movements, and eclipses with remarkable precision. Such expertise may have originated long before the Sumerians, suggesting an accumulation of astronomical knowledge over multiple civilizations. By preserving and expanding upon this information, they contributed to a legacy of learning that extends far beyond the confines of their own era. In this sense, the seventh civilization is the culmination of millennia of human observation, experimentation, and knowledge preservation. Artifacts further support this theory. Cylinder seals, bas-reliefs, and inscriptions occasionally depict technology, architecture, and societal organization that appear far ahead of their supposed time. Some researchers interpret these images literally, suggesting they represent inherited technologies from earlier societies. Others argue that they encode symbolic knowledge, transmitting lessons about governance, social structure, and technological skill. Either way, these remnants reinforce the idea of cyclical civilization, with each society standing upon the achievements and failures of those that came before. Finally, the seventh civilization, constructed on the metaphorical and literal clay of previous societies, highlights the resilience and continuity of human ingenuity. Knowledge may be lost, obscured, or fragmented, but it can endure across millennia, shaping the trajectory of future civilizations. By studying the Sumerians and other ancient cultures, we gain insight into these cycles, revealing a history far more complex and layered than linear timelines suggest. Our civilization, in inheriting and expanding upon these accumulated fragments, may represent the latest chapter in a saga that began long before written history, a testament to human resilience, creativity, and the enduring quest to survive, rebuild, and advance. In addition to myths and archaeological layers, the evidence for a seventh civilization is embedded in the continuity of human culture and knowledge. Across time, we find recurring motifs in religion, governance, architecture, and technology that suggest each new civilization inherited something from those that came before. Symbols, rituals, and practical skills were preserved through oral traditions, stories, and artifacts, ensuring that knowledge could survive even if entire societies collapsed. This persistent thread across millennia points to a remarkable resilience of human civilization and the cumulative nature of cultural evolution. One compelling example is the recurrence of monumental architecture. From the ziggurats of Sumer to the pyramids of Egypt, from the megaliths of South America to ancient temples in India, we see striking parallels in scale, alignment, and symbolic design. While separated by geography and time, these structures share common features that suggest knowledge transfer, either through cultural inheritance, shared memory, or possibly remnants of previous civilizations' expertise. These architectural achievements could not have emerged independently in isolation, implying that each civilization drew upon knowledge preserved from earlier societies. Material evidence also strengthens the argument for multiple preceding civilizations. Excavations in Mesopotamia reveal cities built upon earlier settlements, some containing tools, pottery, and evidence of urban planning far advanced for their presumed era. Similar layered cities are found around the world, hinting at repeated cycles of human development and collapse. These findings indicate that human civilization may have experienced 6 prior epochs, each contributing to the cultural and technological foundation upon which the 7th, our civilization, was constructed. Technology provides another window into these cycles. Agricultural systems, metallurgical techniques, and early engineering practices reappear in different civilizations, often with improvements or adaptations. The sophistication of irrigation in Sumer, the precision of Incan stonework, and the mathematical understanding of the Indus Valley civilization suggest a continuity of knowledge rather than isolated invention. In this sense, the 7th civilization did not begin from scratch. It inherited a mosaic of tools, methods, and wisdom, refined and expanded upon over countless generations. Flood and catastrophe narratives play a key role in understanding this continuity. Stories of global or regional deluges appear in nearly every ancient culture, often describing the survival of a select group who carried vital knowledge into the next age. These accounts, whether literal or symbolic, emphasize the fragility of civilization and the resilience of human knowledge. They reinforce the notion that humanity has experienced multiple resets, each creating opportunities for societies to rise anew, while preserving fragments of past achievements. Cultural memory embedded in myths and legends complements archaeological and material evidence. The Sumerians' Anunnaki, for instance, are described as guiding humanity, imparting essential skills and establishing societal order. Similar figures appear in other ancient cultures, often portrayed as teachers, builders, or divine guides. This cross-cultural pattern hints at a shared recognition of inherited wisdom, knowledge that survived the collapse of previous civilizations and was crucial for rebuilding society. The consistency of these myths strengthens the argument for a layered human history, where each civilization benefits from the knowledge of its predecessors. Astronomical knowledge further supports the theory of repeated civilizations. From the precise tracking of lunar and solar cycles in Sumer to alignments of megalithic structures worldwide, there is clear evidence of advanced observation and calculation passed down through generations. Such sophistication could hardly have emerged entirely independently in multiple regions. It suggests cumulative knowledge, transmitted through cycles of collapse and reconstruction, surviving in fragments for millennia. This continuity of understanding aligns with the notion of a 7th civilization inheriting the intellectual achievements of 6 prior societies. Art, symbolism, and religious practice offer additional confirmation. Recurring motifs in sculpture, iconography, and ritual across continents indicate the persistence of symbolic systems. These motifs often encode practical, social, or astronomical knowledge, preserved within the cultural and spiritual life of societies. The replication and adaptation of these symbols suggests that civilizations consciously built upon the past, transmitting essential wisdom in ways that would survive catastrophic disruptions. Finally, the seventh civilization, our own, can be seen as the culmination of these repeated cycles. Built upon the clay of prior societies, both literal in terms of construction and metaphorical in terms of inherited knowledge, we inherit a legacy shaped by 6 previous civilizations. The fragmented records, architectural ruins, mythological motifs, and technological continuity all point toward a layered history, one in which humanity has endured, learned, and rebuilt countless times. Our civilization, then, is not an isolated beginning, but a continuation of a long and complex human saga, standing upon the accumulated wisdom, failures, and resilience of those who came before. In conclusion, the notion of a civilization built upon clay, the seventh civilization, is more than speculative. It is supported by layered archaeological evidence, recurring myths and legends, continuity of technological and cultural knowledge, and the repeated patterns of rise and collapse observable throughout history. Each cycle contributed fragments of wisdom, innovations, and practices that informed the next. Our current society, thriving amidst the remnants of earlier epochs, represents the persistence of human ingenuity and the remarkable capacity to rebuild, learn, and evolve across millennia. The mystery of the seventh civilization challenges conventional timelines, urging us to see human history as a series of interconnected layers, each civilization a chapter in an ongoing story that stretches far beyond what is commonly acknowledged. History, as traditionally recorded, presents a structured narrative. Humans gradually progressed from primitive settlements to complex civilizations. Yet, a growing body of evidence suggests that our understanding is far from complete. Across the globe, there exist rare events, unexplained artifacts, and anomalies that challenge conventional timelines. These gaps in recorded history hint at knowledge and civilizations that existed beyond what textbooks teach, potentially indicating repeated cycles of rise, fall, and reconstruction. One of the most striking examples comes from the archaeological record. Sites such as Göbekli Tepe in modern-day Turkey, which dates back more than 11,000 years, feature monumental stone circles and intricately carved pillars, predating the advent of agriculture and urban society as traditionally understood. The precision and complexity of these structures suggest a level of organization and technical skill that historians struggle to explain. How could hunter-gatherer societies create such architectural feats without the social infrastructure assumed necessary? This anomaly represents a significant gap in our understanding, hinting at knowledge that may have been inherited from even earlier civilizations or lost to cataclysmic events. Equally compelling are the out-of-place artifacts scattered across the archaeological record. Tools, mechanical components, and objects seemingly ahead of their time have been discovered in multiple regions, challenging accepted historical models. The Antikythera mechanism, for example, is an ancient Greek device that demonstrates astonishing astronomical computation capabilities, predating similar European mechanical inventions by millennia. Similarly, stone carvings and inscriptions found in South America, Africa, and the Middle East occasionally depict advanced technological concepts that mainstream historians struggle to reconcile with their estimated time periods. These artifacts suggest the possibility of prior civilizations with knowledge that was partially preserved or subsequently forgotten. Historical records themselves reveal anomalies. Ancient texts often reference events or rulers that appear inconsistent with established timelines. The Sumerian king list, for instance, records rulers who reigned for tens of thousands of years, and similar accounts appear in Egyptian and Indian chronicles. While conventional interpretations often consider these exaggerations or symbolic accounts, some researchers propose that they may encode real historical cycles, periods when entire civilizations existed, thrived, and collapsed. These rare records point toward gaps in the continuity of history, episodes where human advancement occurred, only to be obscured by time or catastrophe. Cataclysmic events play a pivotal role in these historical gaps. Geological and climate studies indicate that massive floods, volcanic eruptions, and rapid climate shifts occurred repeatedly over millennia. These events could have destroyed entire civilizations, erasing records and leaving only fragmented knowledge. The consistency of flood myths in multiple cultures, from Mesopotamia to India, from Greece to South America, supports the idea that humanity experienced repeated societal resets. Each reset may have destroyed written and material records, contributing to the gaps in the historical narrative we perceive today. In addition to environmental catastrophes, social upheaval also contributes to these gaps. Wars, invasions, and systemic collapses often result in the loss of accumulated knowledge. Libraries, archives, and inscriptions can vanish almost entirely, leaving later generations to reconstruct history from partial remnants. The burning of the Library of Alexandria, for instance, represents a monumental loss of human knowledge. Similar destruction occurred in other ancient centers, where centuries of accumulated wisdom may have disappeared, leaving historians with only fragments to piece together the larger story. Rare astronomical and geological records further highlight these anomalies. Ancient civilizations observed celestial events with precision that modern science struggles to fully explain. Records of eclipses, planetary alignments, and comets, when compared across civilizations, suggest a continuity of observation that predates many known societies. The ability to track such events accurately implies mathematical and observational skills that may have originated in lost or forgotten civilizations, preserved in fragments through surviving texts and artifacts. These gaps in history emphasize the continuity of knowledge despite societal collapse. Another source of historical gaps lies in unexplained artifacts and inscriptions. Some carvings, monuments, and tablets contain symbols, codes, or images that defy conventional interpretation. They may depict machinery, astronomical phenomena, or even interactions with beings that challenge modern understanding of ancient societies. While mainstream archaeology often interprets these as symbolic or mythical, alternative readings suggest that they may be vestiges of real knowledge from civilizations that existed long before recorded history. Such anomalies point toward gaps where human knowledge has been partially lost and subsequently reconstructed. Finally, the global consistency of certain myths, symbols, and architectural motifs underscores the existence of rare, unexplained historical events. Flood narratives, sun worship, and recurring motifs in art appear across continents, separated by vast distances and time periods. These similarities may indicate shared knowledge or parallel development influenced by older civilizations whose memory persisted through myth and ritual. By studying these patterns, researchers can begin to map the gaps in conventional history, revealing a hidden chronology in which civilizations rose, fell, and left fragments that informed those that followed. Beyond the anomalies in artifacts and architecture, the very structure of recorded history reveals puzzling gaps. Certain periods, often labeled as Dark Ages or Lost Epochs, show sudden absences in the archaeological and textual record. For example, the period between the decline of the Indus Valley Civilization and the rise of later South Asian societies leaves many questions unanswered. What happened to the advanced urban planning, standardized weights, and metallurgy of Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa? Similarly, in Mesopotamia, the transition between pre-Sumerian settlements and the emergence of city-states such as Uruk and Ur is marked by gaps in documentation, hinting at forgotten chapters of human development. Rare historical phenomena also complicate the narrative. Certain inexplicable events, like sudden mass extinctions, rapid climate changes, and unusual geological upheavals, occurred simultaneously across multiple regions. These events could have led to abrupt societal collapses, erasing knowledge and fragmenting human memory. The persistence of myths describing floods, fires, or celestial disturbances across continents suggests a collective memory of real historical disasters, pointing to interruptions in the linear narrative of civilization. In these gaps, the true scope of human achievement may have been obscured, creating mysteries that modern historians struggle to interpret. Unusual inscriptions and symbols appear across different civilizations, sometimes hinting at knowledge lost to mainstream history. Carvings found in South America, Africa, and the Middle East depict technologies or astronomical phenomena that challenge conventional timelines. Some tablets show advanced mathematical calculations, precise lunar cycles, or intricate machinery, far beyond what historians expect for their supposed eras.
These artifacts suggest that previous civilizations had acquired sophisticated knowledge, which was partially destroyed or forgotten during catastrophic resets, leaving only fragments for future societies to rediscover. The continuity of certain myths further supports the idea of historical gaps. Stories of world-ending floods, divine guidance, and epic migrations recur across cultures separated by thousands of miles and decades. These narratives may preserve memories of rare, transformative events that reshaped human civilization multiple times. By comparing myths from Sumer, India, Egypt, and the Americas, researchers can trace patterns that suggest shared historical experiences, possibly pointing to knowledge inherited from civilizations lost to natural disasters or societal collapse. Archaeological layers provide concrete evidence of these gaps. Many ancient cities are built atop previous settlements, with lower strata containing remnants of forgotten cultures. Excavations in Mesopotamia, the Indus Valley, and the Nile Delta reveal multiple phases of habitation, destruction, and reconstruction. In some cases, entire technological and cultural traditions disappear in one layer, only to reappear in modified form in the next. This pattern strongly indicates that human knowledge and civilization have been repeatedly interrupted, leaving gaps in the historical record that obscure the full story of our ancestors. Technological inconsistencies also highlight the gaps in recorded history. Certain civilizations achieved levels of engineering, mathematics, or astronomy that seem improbable given the known context of their time. For instance, the precision of Incan stonework, the astronomical accuracy of the Antikythera mechanism, and the complex irrigation systems of early Sumer all suggest inherited or lost knowledge. These achievements appear sporadically, separated by centuries or millennia, as if the accumulated wisdom of previous civilizations was partially erased and later rediscovered. Such discontinuities underscore the fragmented nature of human history and the possibility of reconstructing lost knowledge. In addition, the sudden appearance of writing systems in multiple regions points to gaps in historical understanding. Cuneiform in Mesopotamia, hieroglyphs in Egypt, and early scripts in the Indus Valley emerged rapidly, with no clear precursors in the archaeological record. This abrupt development raises questions. Were these innovations entirely independent, or were they adaptations of knowledge passed down from older, now forgotten civilizations? The possibility that these writing systems were built upon fragments of earlier knowledge further supports the idea that human history contains hidden chapters obscured by time, disaster, or societal collapse. Global anomalies, such as unexplained ancient maps and artifacts depicting extinct species, also hint at lost knowledge. Some ancient maps display coastlines and geological formations accurately, long before modern surveying techniques existed. Other artifacts, found far from their supposed cultural origin, suggest either global contact or preservation of knowledge from civilizations predating the known historical record. These anomalies align with the concept of historical gaps, periods of human achievement that have vanished, leaving only hints of advanced civilizations whose legacies survive in fragments, myths, or sporadic discoveries. Finally, the combined weight of rare artifacts, anomalous structures, sudden cultural shifts, and persistent myths illustrates the fragility of historical continuity. Humanity's story is not linear. It is punctuated by forgotten chapters, lost knowledge, and repeated reconstructions. These gaps, often dismissed by mainstream scholarship, may in fact hold the key to understanding the true scope of human civilization. By examining anomalies, artifacts, and myths critically, researchers can begin to reconstruct a more accurate narrative, one that acknowledges the rare events, disruptions, and forgotten societies that shaped the world we inhabit today. The rare artifacts and anomalies scattered across the globe suggest that human history contains chapters deliberately or accidentally erased by time, disaster, or societal collapse. Cities buried under sand or silt,
sudden shifts in technology, and unexplained ruins indicate that humanity has repeatedly lost, rediscovered, and reconstructed knowledge. These gaps in history are not mere coincidences. They hint at cycles of civilization, where cataclysmic events disrupt societal continuity, leaving only fragments behind to be pieced together by later generations. In regions such as Mesopotamia, Egypt, and the Indus Valley, excavations reveal multi-layered cities that were built atop earlier settlements. Lower layers often show unexpected sophistication, from advanced urban planning to complex pottery and metallurgical evidence. Such findings indicate that human civilization did not emerge in a single linear trajectory. Instead, it evolved through repeated collapses and rebuilds. Each cycle may have erased large portions of cultural memory, leaving historians with only tantalizing hints of prior achievements. The concept of gaps in recorded history becomes crucial to understanding how modern civilizations might have inherited fragments of knowledge from these lost societies. Catastrophic events played a significant role in these gaps. Floods, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and abrupt climate changes repeatedly reshaped human settlements, destroying archives, monuments, and infrastructure. The repeated appearance of flood myths across civilizations, from the Epic of Gilgamesh to the story of Noah, Manu, and Atlantis, suggests that these events were not purely mythological, but reflected real historical disasters. Survivors preserved fragments of knowledge, whether through oral tradition, inscriptions, or practical techniques, allowing new civilizations to rise with the inheritance of ancient wisdom. Technological and scientific continuity, despite societal collapses, also highlights these historical gaps. Structures like Göbekli Tepe or the Incan terraces demonstrate advanced knowledge that cannot be easily explained by the supposed capabilities of their builders. Similarly, artifacts like the Antikythera mechanism or precise astronomical charts suggest that sophisticated understanding predates the civilizations traditionally credited with such achievements. These anomalies indicate that much of human knowledge may have been lost and subsequently rediscovered, creating discontinuities in the historical narrative that we interpret today. Rare inscriptions and symbolic representations offer further evidence. Tablets, carvings, and reliefs often depict technologies, astronomical phenomena, or mathematical concepts that seem anachronistic. These symbols may encode practical knowledge from civilizations that no longer exist, preserved indirectly for future generations to decode. Even architectural motifs, myths, and religious practices sometimes reflect techniques or principles inherited from societies whose full records were destroyed. Such continuity across time and space underscores the layered nature of human history, revealing the hidden complexities within the apparent gaps. Global patterns in myths and legends reinforce the existence of these historical voids. Stories of deluges, celestial events, and extraordinary rulers recur across continents, often sharing striking similarities despite cultural and geographical differences. These parallels suggest a shared memory of events that disrupted civilizations on a massive scale. By tracing these narratives, historians and researchers can begin to reconstruct portions of lost history, uncovering clues about rare events, advanced knowledge, and the ways in which humanity recovered and rebuilt after catastrophic interruptions. Even more intriguing are unexplained artifacts whose origins challenge conventional timelines. Ancient maps, carvings of extinct species, and depictions of advanced machinery appear in regions and periods where such knowledge should not exist. Some of these objects indicate that previous civilizations may have had capabilities or understanding far beyond what mainstream history credits them with. Whether these artifacts represent remnants of lost civilizations or independent rediscoveries, they highlight the gaps in our historical record and invite re-examination of human achievement. The study of these gaps also sheds light on the process of reconstruction. Each civilization that survived a collapse became both a beneficiary and a custodian of the knowledge inherited from earlier societies. Skills in agriculture, construction, metallurgy, and governance were adapted, modified, and transmitted. Even myths and religious practices often encoded practical information, ensuring its survival. This cyclical preservation of knowledge explains how humanity was able to rise repeatedly, despite catastrophic losses, filling historical voids with partially reconstructed wisdom. Ultimately, the gaps in recorded history emphasize the incompleteness of our conventional understanding. Rare events, anomalies, and lost artifacts reveal that human civilization is far older, more complex, and more resilient than textbooks suggest. Recognizing these gaps allows us to approach history with humility and curiosity, understanding that what is preserved may only represent a fraction of what humanity has achieved over countless millennia. These voids challenge us to reconstruct our past more accurately, integrating evidence from archaeology, mythology, and anomaly studies to glimpse the true depth and continuity of human civilization. In conclusion, the rare events, unexplained artifacts, and anomalies within recorded history illuminate a profound truth. Humanity's story is neither simple nor linear. It is punctuated by gaps, disruptions, and periods of extraordinary achievement that have been partially erased by time and catastrophe. These gaps suggest repeated cycles of civilization, in which knowledge is lost, rediscovered, and rebuilt. By studying these fragments critically, we can begin to reconstruct the hidden layers of our past, revealing a human saga far richer, older, and more intricate than the conventional historical narrative allows. In this sense, gaps in recorded history are not absences, they are clues, inviting us to explore the unseen and understand the remarkable resilience and continuity of human civilization.
Throughout history, civilizations have developed technologies and knowledge far ahead of what we often credit them with. From intricate engineering and urban planning to advanced metallurgy and astronomical observation, many of these innovations appear lost to time, only to resurface centuries later. The study of lost knowledge and technology reveals patterns of human ingenuity that transcend conventional historical timelines, suggesting that ancient societies possess skills and understanding that modern historians are only beginning to grasp. One of the most striking examples comes from ancient architecture. Monumental structures, such as the pyramids of Egypt, the ziggurats of Mesopotamia, and the megalithic sites of South America, showcase engineering precision that continues to astonish modern experts. The alignment of the pyramids with celestial bodies, the precise cutting and fitting of massive stones without modern machinery, and the design of structures that have survived millennia indicate knowledge of mathematics, physics, and material science that seems disproportionate to their time. These feats imply that ancient civilizations had developed a sophisticated technological framework, much of which has been lost or forgotten over time. Similarly, metallurgy in ancient societies often exceeds expectations. The crafting of durable bronze, iron, and even more complex alloys demonstrates a level of chemical understanding that challenges the assumption of linear technological progression. Ancient swords, tools, and artifacts exhibit hardness, resilience, and design sophistication that sometimes surpass early modern creations. Some artifacts, such as the steel Damascus blades, the iron pillar of Delhi, and bronze tools in Mesopotamia, resist corrosion and retain functionality over thousands of years, showcasing metallurgical expertise that has only partially survived in modern knowledge. Astronomical knowledge also reflects lost sophistication. Ancient civilizations tracked lunar cycles, solar patterns, and planetary movements with remarkable accuracy. From the Sumerian records to the Mayan calendars, humanity demonstrated a precise understanding of celestial mechanics. The Antikythera mechanism, often referred to as the world's first analog computer, exemplifies this lost technological mastery, calculating astronomical positions centuries before similar mechanical innovations appeared in Europe. These examples indicate that ancient societies possessed both observational rigor and mechanical ingenuity, often lost or reinvented after societal collapses. Ancient water management and agriculture further illustrate lost technological ingenuity. Civilizations such as the Indus Valley, Mesopotamia, and pre-Columbian South America developed irrigation systems, reservoirs, and urban water distribution networks that rival modern engineering. Some techniques, such as terraced farming, canot systems, and underground aqueducts, reflect a deep understanding of hydrology and soil management. Over time, knowledge of these systems diminished or was abandoned, yet traces remain, waiting for modern researchers to rediscover and understand their sophistication. The transmission of knowledge in ancient societies was also a factor in what became lost.
skills and techniques were often guarded by priesthoods, guilds, or ruling elites, transmitted orally through apprenticeships or encoded in rituals. When civilizations collapsed or institutions disbanded, much of this knowledge vanished, surviving only in fragmented texts, oral traditions, or cryptic inscriptions. This selective preservation contributed to the gaps we see in history today, leaving later civilizations to rediscover or reinvent techniques that had existed centuries or millennia earlier. Some artifacts defy explanation in terms of conventional technological timelines. Objects showing precision machining, advanced astronomical representation, or mechanical complexity appear long before similar techniques re-emerged in modern times. For instance, carvings and reliefs from Egypt, Mesopotamia, and South America depict machines, flying devices, or astronomical tools, sparking debates among researchers about the extent of ancient technological understanding. While interpretations vary, these anomalies consistently suggest that civilizations achieved capabilities that were lost to time and rediscovered only centuries later. Material culture, including pottery, textiles, and construction materials, also reflects lost knowledge. Ancient methods of producing ceramics, dyes, and durable materials often rival or surpass modern equivalents in quality and efficiency. In some cases, recipes or techniques were forgotten entirely, requiring modern experimental archaeology to replicate ancient proficiency. These instances underscore the sophistication embedded in daily life, not just monumental constructions, highlighting the breadth of human ingenuity that has been obscured by time. Finally, the study of lost knowledge and technology illuminates the interconnectedness of civilizations. Innovations in one society often influenced others, whether through trade, migration, or conquest. Yet much of this knowledge was not preserved in continuous records, creating a fractured historical picture. By examining anomalies, advanced artifacts, and sophisticated techniques, researchers can begin to piece together the technological landscape of the ancient world, revealing a tapestry of human achievement that is far more advanced and interconnected than conventional history suggests. Beyond monumental constructions and material artifacts, ancient civilizations exhibited remarkable ingenuity in fields such as mathematics, astronomy, medicine, and transportation. In Mesopotamia, the Sumerians developed a sophisticated number system based on 60, which enabled precise calculations of time, geometry, and celestial events. The sexagesimal system, though partially lost to history, influenced later Greek and Babylonian mathematics. Similarly, the Egyptians demonstrated advanced knowledge of geometry and applied it to land measurement, pyramid construction, and architectural planning. These mathematical achievements represent a form of knowledge that was highly developed in antiquity, much of which was lost or transformed over centuries. Astronomy, closely linked with mathematics, was another domain of lost expertise. Civilizations like the Maya meticulously tracked celestial cycles, eclipses, and planetary movements, constructing calendars of incredible accuracy. Their long count calendars spanned thousands of years, predicting astronomical events with precision. Likewise, Babylonian astronomers documented planetary positions and lunar cycles, forming the foundation for later Hellenistic and Islamic astronomy. These accomplishments reflect a continuity of observation and calculation that was sometimes interrupted, forgotten, or obscured by later societal disruptions, illustrating how technological and scientific knowledge could be lost and later rediscovered. Medicine in ancient civilizations also shows evidence of lost sophistication. Texts such as the Ebers Papyrus in Egypt and cuneiform medical tablets from Mesopotamia reveal understanding of anatomy, surgical techniques, and herbal treatments. In some cases, these practices were remarkably effective and advanced for their time. However, much of this medical knowledge was not preserved consistently, leaving later generations to relearn basic principles that had existed centuries or millennia earlier. The loss and rediscovery of medical expertise illustrate how practical knowledge can vanish even when it has proven effective and life-saving. Transportation and mechanical knowledge further demonstrate lost capabilities. Ancient civilizations designed sophisticated road networks, bridges, canals, and vehicles that facilitated trade, communication, and administration. The Romans are well known for their roads and aqueducts, but even earlier civilizations in Mesopotamia, the Indus Valley, and South America engineered infrastructure that enabled cities to flourish. Some reliefs and inscriptions depict wheeled vehicles, flying devices, or mechanical tools that suggest technical expertise beyond what is commonly attributed to the era. Such evidence underscores that knowledge, once developed, could be partially lost and later reinvented or reinterpreted. Material science in antiquity also presents intriguing examples. The creation of strong alloys, durable ceramics, and pigments with extraordinary longevity reflects a deep understanding of chemistry. The Iron Pillar of Delhi, resistant to corrosion for over 1,600 years, demonstrates metallurgical skill that modern science still studies to replicate. Similarly, pottery from ancient Mesopotamia, China, and the Americas shows heat control, glazing techniques, and structural stability that reveal an advanced grasp of material properties. These skills were often lost during societal collapses, only to be rediscovered or approximated in later civilizations. Trade and knowledge exchange facilitated the spread of these technologies, yet gaps persisted. Trade networks such as those connecting Mesopotamia, the Indus Valley, and Egypt allowed ideas, goods, and techniques to diffuse across regions. Despite this, disasters, wars, or social upheavals can sever these connections, causing knowledge to be lost locally while surviving elsewhere. Over centuries, these interruptions created discontinuities in the historical record, making it appear as though knowledge had been invented independently in multiple regions, when in fact, it may have been inherited from older civilizations. Written records also play a critical role in understanding lost knowledge. Tablets, scrolls, and inscriptions preserved information on technology, astronomy, and governance, but many were destroyed by natural disasters, invasions, or deliberate erasure. For example, libraries like that of Alexandria contain centuries of accumulated wisdom, much of which is now irretrievably lost. Inscriptions and texts that survived often require interpretation, as knowledge was encoded in symbolic or context-specific ways, further complicating efforts to reconstruct ancient technology accurately. These losses contribute to the perception that technological progress was slower or more fragmented than it truly was. Finally, the persistence of myths, legends, and oral traditions offers additional insight into lost knowledge. Stories of gods imparting skills, divine craftspeople, and epic builders may encode real technological understanding, transmitted symbolically when the practical knowledge itself could no longer be fully preserved. From the Anunnaki of Mesopotamia to the Maya's cosmological myths, symbolic narratives may have functioned as mnemonic devices, safeguarding technical expertise through generations. By studying these narratives alongside artifacts and architectural evidence, researchers can uncover glimpses of forgotten technologies and techniques, bridging the gaps left in written history. Even as civilizations collapsed, fragments of lost knowledge survived in scattered forms, waiting for rediscovery by subsequent societies. Some technologies were reconstructed through trial and error, while others resurfaced in entirely new contexts, sometimes centuries later. This cyclical pattern of loss and rediscovery underscores the resilience of human ingenuity and the persistence of knowledge across generations, even when written records and material artifacts were destroyed. Navigation and seafaring provide one of the clearest examples of lost technological mastery. Ancient mariners traversed vast oceans, establishing trade networks and cultural exchange long before modern instruments existed. Polynesian navigators, for instance, sailed thousands of miles across the Pacific using star charts, ocean currents, and wind patterns. Similarly, ancient Egyptians, Phoenicians, and Greeks built ships capable of long-distance voyages with designs and techniques that were partially forgotten and later reinvented in the age of exploration. These examples show that advanced knowledge existed far earlier than commonly assumed, only to be lost and reconstructed over time. Mechanical engineering and automation also appear in fragments of ancient knowledge. Devices like the Antikythera mechanism, geared machines in Roman and Greek constructions, and water clocks from Egypt and Mesopotamia indicate a level of mechanical understanding that modern historians only fully appreciate in recent decades. These artifacts demonstrate that societies could conceptualize and construct complex machines, and their rediscovery illustrates how much was temporarily lost to time. The fact that these inventions did not persist in continuous development highlights the fragility of technological continuity in human history. Medicine and applied sciences similarly reflect cycles of lost knowledge. Surgical techniques, herbal remedies, and anatomical understanding were developed in societies such as Egypt, Mesopotamia, India, and China, only to be partially forgotten after collapses or periods of social upheaval. The preservation of these skills depended on texts, oral instruction, and practice, which could be disrupted by war, famine, or cultural shifts. Modern medicine in many instances has had to rediscover principles known to ancient physicians, illustrating the intermittent continuity of human knowledge. Lost knowledge in metallurgy, construction, and materials science also persists in anomalies that modern science struggles to explain fully. The precision stonework of Machu Picchu, the corrosion-resistant iron pillars of India, and the alignment of megalithic sites around the world point to technological practices that vanished for centuries. Researchers today study these artifacts to reverse engineer techniques, revealing the sophistication of ancient craftsmen and their deep understanding of materials, tools, and natural forces. The search for lost knowledge is ongoing. Archaeologists, historians, and scientists employ multidisciplinary approaches, combining excavation, textual analysis, experimental archaeology, and modern technology to uncover and understand what was once forgotten. High-resolution satellite imagery, ground-penetrating radar, and 3D modeling allow the discovery and reconstruction of ancient cities, road networks, and water systems, revealing technological and urban planning skills that have been buried for millennia. Similarly, studies of ancient manuscripts, inscriptions, and iconography help decode symbolic representations of advanced tools and concepts. Even myths, legends, and religious narratives contain encoded knowledge. Stories of gods teaching humans arts, crafts, or celestial understanding often preserve practical information in symbolic form. By interpreting these narratives alongside material evidence, researchers can reconstruct aspects of lost technologies, from metallurgy and construction techniques to astronomical calculations and agricultural practices. Such investigations demonstrate that what appears to be myth may in fact preserve fragments of human ingenuity that survived societal collapse in non-traditional forms. The implications of lost knowledge and technology are profound. Recognizing the existence of these achievements challenges conventional historical timelines and linear narratives of progress. Humanity's technological development may not have been gradual and continuous. Rather, it occurred in cycles, interrupted by cataclysms and societal upheaval. Each period of collapse resulted in the temporary loss of sophisticated skills, only for them to be rediscovered, reinvented, or adapted by future civilizations. Understanding these cycles provides a richer perspective on human ingenuity, resilience, and adaptability. Finally, the pursuit of lost knowledge bridges past and present. Modern technology and science can learn from ancient innovations, whether in sustainable architecture, efficient water management, precision engineering, or astronomical observation. By studying and emulating ancient methods, humanity can integrate millennia-old wisdom into contemporary applications, demonstrating that lost knowledge is not merely historical curiosity, but a resource for solving modern challenges. The continuous rediscovery and adaptation of this knowledge reveal that the legacy of ancient civilizations persists, shaping the world long after their collapse. In conclusion, ancient civilizations possessed knowledge and technologies far beyond what is often recognized. From engineering marvels and astronomical instruments to medical practices and metallurgical expertise, much of this knowledge was lost over centuries due to collapse, disaster, or cultural disruption. Yet fragments survived, encoded in artifacts, texts, monuments, and oral traditions, waiting to be rediscovered and applied. The study of lost knowledge illuminates humanity's enduring capacity for innovation, adaptation, and resilience, reminding us that the past holds treasures that can continue to inspire and inform the present and future. By uncovering these ancient technologies and understanding their principles, we gain insight not only into what civilizations achieved long ago, but also into the enduring potential of human ingenuity. The story of human civilization, as presented in conventional history, often appears linear. a sequence of progressions from primitive societies to advanced civilizations. However, an increasing body of archaeological, geological, and textual evidence suggests a more complex picture, one punctuated by cycles of rise, fall, and rebirth. Ancient inscriptions, lost cities, and enigmatic artifacts hint that history may have been interrupted, partially erased, and subsequently reconstructed multiple times. The possibility that human history has restarted repeatedly challenges conventional timelines and invites a re-examination of our collective past. Evidence from ancient civilizations supports this idea. Mesopotamian, Sumerian, and Egyptian records describe rulers with lifespans and achievements that defy conventional understanding. The Sumerian king list, for example, records kings who ruled for tens of thousands of years, suggesting epochs far longer than modern historians attribute. While some scholars dismiss these accounts as exaggerations, others argue that they encode cycles of civilization, periods when human societies reached extraordinary levels of sophistication, only to collapse and leave behind fragmented records. The pattern of rise and fall embedded in these texts indicates that history may not have been continuous, but cyclical. Geological and climatic evidence reinforces the notion of cyclical history. Sediment layers, flood deposits, and rapid climate shifts demonstrate that the Earth has experienced repeated natural catastrophes capable of reshaping civilizations. Massive floods, volcanic eruptions, and abrupt cooling or warming events could have wiped out entire societies, leaving gaps in the historical record. Many myths, from the Epic of Gilgamesh to the flood narrative in the Bible and similar stories in South America and India, may preserve memories of these catastrophic events. These narratives suggest that human civilizations have faced repeated existential challenges, only to rebuild and continue anew. Archaeological findings further suggest periods of societal collapse, followed by regeneration. Sites such as Göbekli Tepe, Mohenjo-Daro, and Catalhoyuk reveal advanced construction, urban planning, and social organization that appear before the development of agriculture or widespread literacy. The sudden disappearance of these settlements, followed by the emergence of later civilizations in the same regions, implies that knowledge was lost and later rediscovered or reinvented. This cycle of destruction and rebirth highlights the fragility of historical continuity and the resilience of human ingenuity. Lost or undeciphered scripts provide additional evidence. Writing systems like Linear A, Proto-Sumerian inscriptions, and undeciphered glyphs from the Americas and Asia suggest that substantial records may exist but remain inaccessible. These texts could potentially reveal entire histories of civilizations erased by catastrophe or time. The incomplete understanding of ancient writing systems creates gaps in history that allow for the possibility that human civilization has experienced multiple resets, each leaving only partial documentation for later generations to interpret. Technological discontinuities also support the idea of cyclical history. Advanced tools, metallurgy, and architectural feats often appear abruptly in the archaeological record, with no apparent gradual development. The construction of the pyramids, the precise astronomical alignments of megalithic structures, and sophisticated water management systems all suggest inherited knowledge from earlier, now lost societies. These achievements appear intermittently, implying that knowledge was lost and regained across successive civilizations, reinforcing the pattern of rise, collapse, and rebirth. Cultural and mythological continuities provide further clues. Stories of great floods, divine interventions, epic migrations, and advanced beings recur across continents and millennia. These narratives, when studied comparatively, suggest a shared human memory of events that disrupted and reshaped societies. By tracing these myths alongside archaeological and textual evidence, researchers can identify patterns indicative of historical cycles. Such analysis challenges the notion of a single, uninterrupted human history, replacing it with a model in which civilizations rise, fall, and rebuild, each cycle leaving traces for the next. Even natural disasters can provide insight into the possibility of history restarting. Cataclysms such as meteor impacts, tsunamis, and supervolcano eruptions have the potential to destroy entire civilizations. Geological records confirm that such events occurred repeatedly over the past tens of thousands of years. The survivors of these events would have had to rebuild their societies, using fragments of prior knowledge to reconstruct technology, governance, and culture. This process of reconstruction, repeated over millennia, contributes to the gaps, anomalies, and rediscoveries evident in our historical and archaeological records. Finally, the study of ancient architecture, technology, and artifacts demonstrates resilience and continuity amidst cycles of collapse. Even after societal resets, fragments of knowledge persist in tools, monuments, and cultural practices. Civilizations that survived catastrophic events were able to reconstruct key technologies and cultural systems, blending inherited knowledge with innovation. This iterative process of loss and renewal reflects a dynamic history where human ingenuity continually adapts to environmental, social, and technological challenges. Archaeological evidence reinforces the possibility that human history has undergone repeated cycles of collapse and rebirth. Sites like Göbekli Tepe in modern-day Turkey, with its intricately carved stone pillars predating agriculture, suggest that advanced social organization and architectural skill existed long before previously believed. Similarly, the Indus Valley civilization demonstrates urban planning, sewage systems, and standardized weights, only to disappear mysteriously around 1900 BCE. These gaps suggest a pattern. Societies rise to impressive technological and cultural heights, face catastrophic disruption, and leave only fragments for subsequent generations to rebuild upon. Undeciphered scripts and inscriptions hint at lost historical knowledge. Linear A from Crete, Proto-Sumerian tablets, and mysterious glyphs in the Americas may record civilizations or technologies now absent from mainstream history. If deciphered, these texts could reveal entire chapters of human development erased by natural disasters, wars, or societal collapse. Even partially understood texts, such as the Sumerian king list, indicate epochs far longer than traditionally accepted, possibly representing cycles of civilization that have been forgotten or reset over millennia. Technological discontinuities further support this idea. Megalithic structures, precision-cut stones, and advanced water management appear abruptly in the record, often without clear precursors. The sudden sophistication seen in ancient engineering, metallurgy, and astronomy implies that knowledge from prior civilizations may have been inherited and then partially lost, necessitating rediscovery or adaptation in later societies. These intermittent achievements reflect the cyclical nature of human advancement. Each collapse erases continuity, while survivors rebuild, integrating both recovered wisdom and new innovation. Cultural continuity and mythological parallels provide additional insight. Flood legends, cosmic events, and accounts of advanced beings recur across civilizations separated by geography and time, from Mesopotamia to South America. These shared stories may encode real events that repeatedly disrupted societies, such as massive floods, climate shifts, or seismic catastrophes. By comparing myths with archaeological and geological evidence, researchers can detect patterns indicative of historical cycles, highlighting the possibility that human history has been reconstructed multiple times. In conclusion, both physical remnants and narrative traditions suggest that human civilization has experienced repeated cycles of rise, collapse, and rebirth. Advanced technologies, lost scripts, and architectural marvels point to knowledge inherited from prior, often forgotten societies. Myths and legends preserve memory of transformative events that reshape civilizations. Together, these clues indicate that history, as we know it, may be only a fragment of a much longer and more complex story, a story that has been rewritten repeatedly over the millennia. The notion of rewriting history gains strength when examining patterns in both artifacts and ancient texts. Megalithic sites, buried cities, and stone inscriptions often reveal advanced knowledge abruptly appearing in the historical record, followed by gaps or regressions. For instance, the precise alignment of structures like Stonehenge or the pyramids suggests astronomical understanding far beyond what we might expect for their periods. Yet, the techniques to achieve such precision are often lost in subsequent centuries, hinting at a civilization that reached great heights before disappearing, leaving later generations to rediscover and rebuild. Ancient scripts, many still undeciphered, may hold the key to understanding these cycles. Linear A, Proto-Sumerian inscriptions, and enigmatic glyphs in South America suggest that entire civilizations, along with their knowledge systems, vanished without trace in conventional histories. Even partially deciphered texts, such as the Sumerian king list, allude to epochs of extraordinary rulers and events far outside accepted chronologies. These clues point to the possibility that human history has been interrupted and rewritten, with each new era inheriting fragments of lost civilizations. The patterns of technological rediscovery further strengthen this perspective. Civilizations repeatedly developed sophisticated tools, irrigation systems, and construction techniques, only to lose them after societal collapse. Later societies, encountering the remnants of these technologies, often rebuilt or adapted them, sometimes enhancing their efficiency. This cyclical process of loss, rediscovery, and reinvention demonstrates that progress is not always linear, but iterative, reconstructing knowledge based on surviving artifacts, myths, and fragmented records. Mythology and legend provide additional evidence for cyclical history. Stories of floods, celestial events, and interactions with advanced beings appear globally, often with strikingly similar motifs. While traditionally considered allegorical, these narratives may encode actual historical events that disrupted civilizations, forcing them to start anew. By studying these myths alongside archaeological findings, researchers can trace recurring patterns of collapse and rebirth, highlighting humanity's resilience and the enduring influence of prior civilizations. In summary, the convergence of archaeological evidence, technological anomalies, ancient inscriptions, and shared mythological motifs strongly suggests that human history has not been a continuous, linear progression. Instead, it appears as a series of cycles, where civilizations rise to remarkable heights, collapse due to natural or societal catastrophes, and rebuild using inherited fragments of knowledge. Recognizing these patterns allows for a more nuanced understanding of humanity's past, revealing the possibility that our recorded history represents only the latest chapter in an ongoing story of rise, fall, and rebirth.